Hi guys, it's me. I know this is a little bit different than the format that I usually do, but I kind of wanted to do a more relaxed video for the topic that I'm going to talk about today. Sorry if that light bothers you. I'm filming in front of natural light today, so we're just gonna see what we get. And I don't have my whole setup right now, so if the video seems a little bit off today, that's why. I just kind of spontaneously decided that I wanted to film this today in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month. Before I start the video, please don't forget to like this video if you find it helpful or if you enjoy it. If you want some lighter content, feel free to go through my channel. I have a lot of lighter content. I just really wanted to put something out for Mental Health Awareness Month because I feel that it's so important to talk about mental health and why it's so important. And I just wanted to be vulnerable, and even if this just helps someone by telling my story and kind of the journey I'm on and where I am now, because today I am the happiest that I've ever been in my life. I feel so creative, I feel so uplifted, I feel so strong and empowered and powerful. I feel like the baddest bitch alive, and I just want other people to feel good about themselves and to love themselves and see that the journey to finding yourself and taking care of yourself is worth it. And it's hard and sometimes it's long, but you can do it. That's all I want. That's all I want. So those of you who have been following channel or any of my content or followed me on any social media platform for a significant amount of time probably know that I am mentally ill. I don't know another way to phrase that other than that way. I have my iPad here because I have some notes, so if I look down, I'm looking at some notes. But if you guys have followed me for a long time, you know I'm a big advocate for mental health. I'm a big supporter of therapy and medication if that's the route that you think that you need to go down. And a lot in my life has shifted the last couple of months, and a lot of people that have seen me recently have noted the change. So I kind of wanted to talk about the importance of mental health by opening up a little bit more about my struggles with mental health and some of the things that I've done this last year that have really helped get me to a place where I feel so much more better than I have in the last couple of years, because it's been a journey. It's been really hard. And there's been a lot of steps that I've taken to get to the point that I am at today. And I'm not saying that I'm mentally healthy or that I am the end-all be-all for mental health, but I'm saying that I know that the things that I've done, and I know the way that I live my life, and I've always been a person that wears their heart on their sleeve. I always thought that I was really good at hiding the fact that I was depressed and sad, but apparently I wasn't that good at it, because a lot of people in the last couple of weeks that I've seen them in person just are like, you're so glowy, you're vibrant, you can just tell there's been this shift in your energy. And I feel like you can see that even in how much more confident I am when uploading content. We've talked about it so many times on this channel that my ultimate goal is to do social media full time, because I enjoy making things. I enjoy making videos, I enjoy posting outfits, I enjoy doing all that, and being so much mentally clearer has helped me get closer to that goal. That's why I'm making this video. Maybe I'll just start with kind of telling you guys about my journey and when my journey started with mental health. So I am currently 26 years old. I would say my journey with mental health started maybe about 10 years ago when I was 16, 17. I'd kind of always known that there was something going on with me, and that there was something like a sadness that I felt, and I thought that it was just a sadness that most people felt in general. I grew up experiencing a lot of things that are very difficult. While I do have a very privileged life and I do have a lot of experiences that a lot of people could only dream of, I did grow up around a lot of violence, substance abuse. I had some sexual abuse as a child, not from anyone in my family. And then obviously once I hit high school, and I was older, I started having issues with my sexual identity, with if I was straight or not. And then I just had all this pressure that I was putting on myself because I felt the need to be the best at everything that I did. And because of that, I feel like I did suffer in my high school experience. And also the fact that I decided to be openly by and openly express myself in a area that is generally more conservative. I experienced a lot of bullying and a lot of harassment through high school, and it was really, really hard to go through that while I was suffering at home. And I think the combination of things is what I've gathered through my years of therapy. My mental health struggles have been a combination of the circumstances that I was around, and also that there's just a history of certain mental illness in my family. Altogether, it was almost written in the stars that there would be something that I would suffer with. It wasn't until I was 17, I believe, that I had my first suicide attempt where I was hospitalized. And it was a really traumatic experience. My parents had moved me schools because they felt that I was acting out, and in some ways I was. And I literally felt like my entire world was falling apart. And I think back to that instance now and what it's like to be a teenager, and it literally feels like when your parents do something like that, it feels like your entire world is crumbling to pieces. And I just remember feeling like they hate me, they want to destroy my life, like they're just doing this to hurt me. And I had already been suicidal. I had struggled with self-harm a lot from middle school up until high school, and I'd had enough, and I took some sleeping pills and I woke up and I thought I was fine, so I went to school. And because of the circumstance of why I was transferred to the school, I was put in a group therapy class, and the teacher was a therapist, and she kind of noticed me like almost passing out, I guess. And so I was taken to the hospital. They did the whole thing, and they told me they were going to keep me for overnight observation. I'm sorry if I giggle or laugh or make jokes. Humor has always been a coping mechanism for me, so it's really hard for me to talk about these things sometimes and not crack jokes about them. And it's not because they're not serious, it's just like the one thing that I've learned helps me cope. So they took me to a hospital, like a bigger hospital, because the city that I was in is small and they just don't have the facilities for it. They strapped me down, took me, and I thought I was just going to be there for 24 hours or for overnight was what was my understanding of it. I get there and I immediately noticed that it was not a place that looked like it was for overnight stays. It looked like they were taking me to a psych ward, which I later found out was where I was gonna stay. And it was a really traumatic experience for me because it was literally like they told me one thing and then all of a sudden I was trapped, and I didn't know how long I was going to be there for. And in some ways I take that experience and I think that was the beginning of my family and my parents and people outside of myself knowing how severely depressed I was and how much I wanted and needed help because I did not want to be alive. Waking up every day, all I wanted was to be dead. So in some ways, I feel like that was what it took to get them to notice or get them to see how bad my mental health was and how badly I was suffering. And that was the first time that I talked about a lot of the things that I experienced, like a lot of the sexual trauma that I had had. I was constantly being harassed in school. I remember there was one specific instance at a house party that I'd gone to where I was pretty much cornered by a guy, and he was getting in my face being like, "Oh, you like girls, you don't like me." And it's a scary situation to be in when somebody bigger than you corners you like that. But back to what I was saying about the psych ward. So the psych ward was the first time that I had spoken a lot about these issues that were making it hard for me to want to be alive. Intake process was really traumatic because I remember the guy sitting in front of me and going, "You tried to kill yourself, Daisy. That's kind of a serious thing. What did you expect to happen?" And it felt very, I don't know, I felt very weird about the way he decided to say that to me. After that, they basically had a nurse take me. They had a chart with like the diagram of your entire body, like a sketch of a person's body, and they marked everywhere that they found scars, bruising, anything like that. I assume it was in case you tried to hurt yourself again, they could prove that it wasn't something that you came in with or something along those lines. I was put in with my roommate, and they would lock us in every night. Every day they would take our vitals in the morning and in the evening. We weren't allowed to eat with anything other than plastic spoons, and you had to earn the right to wear your own clothes, and even then there were restrictions as to what you could wear. You had to earn the right to be able to listen to music during free time. You had to do group therapy, individual therapy, family therapy. I was there for about 2 weeks before I was let to go home, and I'm going to give my parents a lot of credit, because when I came back it did feel like they finally kind of understood where I was coming from and that I wasn't just doing this for attention. And after that I started doing therapy, and I was put on medication, which didn't really do anything. And that was kind of my first experience with getting help. After that, it was kind of on and off again therapy until I reached the age of 22 or 23, when I experienced a very traumatic sexual assault. I don't remember it to this day. I've talked about it before on this channel, that I was raped, and it was by somebody who I thought was my friend, and the police basically told me, you're out of luck, there's nothing that we can do. It's a he said, she said, and even though he confessed to you, and you have messages and voicemails where he's saying the words, I did this to you and I just didn't tell you because I didn't want you to perceive me as a scumbag. I was basically told there's nothing that can be done, and that made it really, really hard for me to heal at all. And this is a spot where I want to talk about if you have experienced any kind of sexual assault or trauma. I'm going to put some resources for specifically Utah, and then some other resources below, because that is where I'm from, and I dealt with the Utah Rape Crisis Center, and they were amazing. They sent down an advocate for me, 2 girls. There was one that I believe was training, and one that had done it before. The rape kit doctor was amazing. I could tell right away that the initial doctor didn't believe me, and it wasn't until she spoke to him and told him that I clearly had trauma, that I was believed, and the cops were called and all of that began. But it was so nice to have somebody there to advocate for me and to just make sure that I was okay. It was so nice that their goal was just to make sure that I was okay. And not only did they provide that service, but they also do like changing locks, taking care of hospital bills, taking care of like any other financial things that might help you in that kind of situation. I'm going to put the resources below, because it was honestly so surprising to me how much more help I got from them than from the actual police. But I feel like that was the most bottom that I've ever felt in my entire life, was after I experienced that, because I just never understood why somebody could do that to somebody that they considered a friend, and especially somebody that I had known for such a long time, and somebody that claimed to care about me. After that, I knew that it was important for me to get back and to start getting taken care of. So at that point, there had been about 5 years in between the last time that I had actually spoken to a therapist or gotten any kind of medication. I'd done maybe 1 or 2 therapy sessions. Once I experienced that sexual assault, I knew that it was important for me to start taking care of my mental health, because I was not doing well. My depression was so bad. It was literally to the point, this is gonna sound so gross, but this is the only way that I can demonstrate just how debilitating my depression was, is I would have days where I wouldn't be able to get out of bed. I literally couldn't physically get myself to get out of bed, to brush my teeth, to shower, to brush my hair. There was about like 4 days to a week at a time where I was basically just laying. I was basically just a pile of nothingness. And it wasn't until like a year, like the last 2-3 years, that I really started taking it seriously. I decided this last year that I needed to do everything that I could. I needed to get into therapy. It all started, I feel like, when I lost 2 of my family members, that I felt, okay, there's so much life to live and I can't live my life if I'm this depressed. Like, my family members would want me to be happy and I want to be happy. So I need to do stuff that's out of my comfort zone and actually give myself a shot. And something that my therapist and me talk about a lot is that sometimes we choose to stay in situations that are uncomfortable because they are familiar, therefore they feel comfortable. Even though they hurt us in the long run, we stay in those situations because it's what we know. It's the pattern that we've always experienced. And sometimes to make the decision that's actually right for yourself, to say no, to cut people off, sometimes it's hard and uncomfortable and it feels bad, so we decide not to do it. But that's the decisions that you need to make if you want to be in a better place and a better headspace. Some of the things that I did to get me to the place that I am now, where, again, I'm not saying that I am an example for mental health and what it looks like to be mentally healthy. What I'm saying is that if you're a person that wants to get started and you don't know what to do, what are some things that you can do? What I started to do was identify the things that were making me uncomfortable, or to pinpoint places in my life where I would find myself being negative. If there were people in my life that I was always having negative conversations with and I just never felt good or felt drained afterward, I started cutting those people off or limiting my time with those people. If there was people on Instagram that made me feel bad, even though they didn't do anything, I just unfollowed them. There's no point in, it sounds cliche and dumb, but comparison really is the thief of joy, and that's something that I had to learn. Just because somebody's a good person, sometimes they can still make you feel bad about yourself because you feel the need to compare yourself, and maybe there will come a day where you can follow that person back and not feel the same way. Now, in the place that I am at, I feel so good about myself, and everybody that I follow and everybody that I have a part of my life, I feel like uplifts me and makes me feel good. If there are points in your, or people or things that you do that you know make you feel a negative type of way, maybe it's time to start cutting those things out. And you don't have to do it all right away, but just slowly make those decisions that make you a little bit uncomfortable if in the long run they're going to make you feel better. Just start cutting things that make you feel negatively about yourself out. There's no point in keeping those around. I don't really believe in that, like, look at where people are and use that as motivation to push yourself. I think people grow at their own pace, and I think if people make you feel bad because you feel like, I'm not as far as that person, cut that off. Unfollow that person, mute them if you don't want to unfollow them, but do what you have to do in order to not feel the need to compare yourself to that person anymore, because you and your journey are so different from them and what they're going through. And at the end of the day, you never know what somebody's going through. That person could be suffering and just doing something that, even at the end of the day, just because it's your dream doesn't mean it's theirs. Once I started doing that on my own, I knew it was important for me to address health issues. And this is where it gets really difficult, because I am in a very privileged position to be able to go and get help with my mental health, my physical health. If you have health insurance, I beg you, if you have a job that gives you insurance and you can do the annual checkup thing and do your appointments, do that. Just go to the doctor. Ask the questions. If something feels off, talk about it, because I was one of those people that would go to the doctor and be like, no, everything is okay, knowing that I had a bunch of different things. Then I finally made the decision that I was like, you know what, enough is enough. I don't need to suffer. And so I went to the doctor and I started telling them like some of the issues. And right now I am probably closest to the healthiest I've ever been in my life, because I'm actually putting forth an effort into trying to take care of me and my physical being. I feel like when you feel physically better, that definitely helps with your mental health, especially if you have something that is related directly to the way that you look. I feel like it helps a lot when you actually feel like physical things in your body are being taken care of. I recommend everybody try therapy. I think it's just nice. If it's not because you think that you have depression or some kind of mental illness, here is why I still recommend therapy. It's just always nice to have a perspective outside of yourself. I think a lot of the times we want to make it seem like other people in our life are the ones that are at fault, but sometimes it is us. There were moments where I was like, you know what? There were ugly parts of myself that I had to address in order to get to the point that I am at now, because we're not always in the right. And it was something that I definitely felt that I needed to address in order to make my relationship with my now husband better. A lot of the time I feel like I projected and took so much out on him, and that you're not only destroying that relationship or like eating away at that relationship, but you're also eating away at yourself, and you're tearing down somebody you love, and you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be the person that's hard to be around. I recommend therapy because sometimes it's just nice to have a perspective outside of yourself and learn coping skills and how to deal with certain stressful relationships in your life, if that makes sense. Next part I'm going to talk about is medication. I am on medication. I'm not going to say exactly what medication it is, but it is an antipsychotic, and those work relatively quickly is what my understanding is from what my psychologist told me. What I have is basically almost similar to bipolar, but not exactly bipolar. So I would have episodes of mania where I wouldn't sleep. I would be up until like 4 or 5 in the morning cleaning and just doing, go, 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 go. I would have these spikes of energy, and they would go on for weeks, then crash, and then I would have weeks where I would just not be able to move, and it was constant up and down, high highs, low lows. And what my medication did for me was basically level me out. I've never felt more productive in my life, but that does not mean medication is for everyone. There are people, and it's a hard journey to be on with medication because sometimes you have to find the right one. There are ones that cause certain reactions in people. There are some that just don't do anything to actually help your mental health. So if you want to be medicated, again, this is why I say it's so important to go to your doctor and vocalize feelings and thoughts if you're having, or if you feel like there's a medication or something that you should be put on. It's so important to talk to your doctors and have those candid discussions, because they're the only people that are going to be able to give you a resource in order to take care of that. And I know for some people sometimes it feels like, oh well, of course if I go to the doctor, of course they're going to find something wrong with me. But almost wouldn't you rather they just take that extra precaution than to just not say anything? Like I said, medication isn't for everyone, and it's not something that a lot of people want to do. For me, I went a lot of years without medication, and I determined within the last year that I am just the kind of person that needs to be on something to help me feel better. Otherwise, I turn to substances, and that's a really dangerous place to be, especially if you have an addictive personality, as I feel that I do. Like, if you follow me, you can see that when I like something, I like it a lot. So you need to find a balance and level yourself out. This is another reason why I think it's so important to go to therapy, is because just because you don't think that you have trauma, I promise you probably do. The human brain is a crazy thing, and it blocks things like that out from us. If you're a person and you're like, I don't remember a lot of my childhood, or I don't remember a lot of this or a lot of that, if there are points in your life that you can't remember, there's probably a reason for that. And things that you wouldn't think affect you probably did. And it's just nice to have somebody help work through those emotions with you. Because sometimes if you have, like, if there's a certain way that you do things, or if there's certain like triggers that you have and you don't really know why, sometimes therapy is a good place to explore those feelings and to talk about those experiences and kind of get to the bottom of what's going on. At the end of the day, mental health is such a hard journey for everyone. There's no end all be all basically for the journey of mental health. The only thing that I would recommend is go to your doctor or somebody you trust. If you're in school, a guidance counselor, somebody that you can begin these discussions if you feel that you need to be either on medication, getting some kind of talk therapy. Even if you don't, if you're like, hey, I just want to see like what this is, you can say that. You can go to a therapist and be like, honestly, I just feel like I need to work through some things, or I just want to have a perspective on certain situations from someone outside of myself, because that's what they're there for. So at the end of the day, it's hard, but I promise that it's worth it. Put yourself first, be a little selfish, and do what you need to do to get yourself in a good place. And that's really all the advice I can offer. Like I said, I'm not the end all be all. I'm not the person that's gonna tell you that it's easy. It's hard. But if you put in the work, I promise that you'll feel better. And it's hard. It's so hard getting started and getting yourself out of that place, because it's a hard journey, especially in the beginning. Sometimes there are months of wait lists. All I can say is please wait it out and just do what you can. Do little things like I said, like if there's things that make you sad, cut those things out. You don't have to subject yourself to certain people if you know they make you feel bad. I don't really know how to end this video other than just take care of yourselves. Do what you need to do to make yourself feel better, as long as you're not hurting anyone. It's a hard journey, but I promise you that taking care of your mental health and trying to do what's best for you is well worth it, and you are worth it, and you are loved, and you are seen. And I just hope that you feel better. And I think that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys for sitting and talking with me about a topic that's kind of heavy. If you found this video helpful, please let me know. I'd love to do more like sit down chatty videos like this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This feels so weird to say at the end of this video, but basically if you enjoy my content, feel free to subscribe. Follow me on my other social media platforms if you like. I have TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Those are my main 3 social media platforms. If you liked the video, feel free to like the video. And I love you guys so much. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a beautiful day. Bye.